All right, let's talk about 100 Years of Solitude. It's one of those books that feels less like reading a story and more like you're remembering a dream. It's epic, it's gorgeous, and let's be honest, it can be seriously confusing. So, in this explainer, we're going to try to unpack it all: the mythical town of Macondo and the unforgettable wild Buendia family.
The book's very first sentence is legendary for a reason. I mean, just listen to it. It drops you right into the middle of everything. It's the future, a firing squad, and the deep past, a childhood memory, all smashed together in one breath. This one sentence tells you everything you need to know. This is a story about time being a loop, where memory and fate are all tangled up.
Okay, to really get this book, you first have to get magical realism. Now, this isn't your typical fantasy. In the world of Macondo, a priest levitating after a cup of hot chocolate isn't a miracle. It's just something that happens. A girl so beautiful she literally floats up to heaven while doing laundry? Yeah, that was a Tuesday. These incredible events are treated as completely normal, just part of the everyday fabric of life. So, where did this wild place even come from? Well, it all starts with an escape from a ghost, a long journey through the jungle, and the founding of a town that is, for a little while anyway, a perfect, isolated utopia. The family patriarch, Jose Arcadio Buendia, has this dream, this vision, and that's it. That's where they stop and build their town. Macondo is born from this dream, a place so new, so cut off from everything, that the book says the world itself was so recent that things didn't even have names yet. You literally had to point to talk about them. But it's the matriarch, Ursula, who lays down the law that will define the family forever. This quote is so important. She's saying that a place doesn't truly become your home until your family is part of the soil itself. And that one idea anchors the Bundias to Macondo, intertwining their destiny with the towns, for better, or, as we'll see, for worse. Now, the names in this book, they will make your head spin, but here's the secret. There are really only two types of Buendia men. The Jose Arcadios are these larger-than-life, impulsive, powerful guys, always driven by their passions and usually headed for tragedy. Then you have the Aurelianos. They're the quiet, intense, solitary ones with this incredible insight. And each generation, these two models just repeat, playing out similar lives over and over again, almost like they're trapped in a historical loop. Of course, Macondo's perfect little bubble couldn't last forever. The outside world was bound to find it. And when it does, it brings wonders and inventions, but it also brings rules, conflict, and a force that's going to change everything. And you can see it happen step by step. First, a government official shows up with silly orders. Then comes new technology. Then, bam, the railroad arrives and their isolation is just shattered. But the final nail in the coffin of their solitude? The American Banana Company. That's the real game changer. And this is that first clash of civilizations. Jose Arcadio Buendia literally can't wrap his head around government authority. He thinks order is just a natural thing, not something imposed by paperwork. So what does he do? He physically picks the magistrate up, carries him to the edge of town, and tells him to get lost. It's an amazing moment, but you can't hold back the modern world forever. Colonel Aureliano Buendia says this later on, and man, it perfectly sums up the town's whole tragedy. It started with something so innocent, just being hospitable. But that one small gesture leads to the arrival of the Banana Company, which ushers in a fake prosperity before it exploits everyone and everything, leading to the absolute darkest chapter of the story. Now, way before the Banana Company, one of the most powerful metaphors in the whole book shows up. A plague hits Macondo, but it doesn't attack people's bodies. It attacks their memories.
And this is a kind of foreshadowing for a much more sinister, politically enforced forgetting that's coming down the line.
Here's how it goes down. First, no one can sleep. Then they start to forget the names for things. Soon after, they forget what things are for. They start living in this weird liquid reality where the past gets erased moment by moment. It's not just about losing memories, it's about losing the shared reality that holds a community together.
So the town tries this brilliant, desperate plan to fight back. They label everything, but it gets so bad that just labeling the object isn't enough. Look at the sign on the cow. They have to write out the entire instruction manual for how reality works just to try and hold on to it. It's heartbreaking. This number, this is the turning point. The banana workers finally go on strike, asking for decent conditions. The company and the government, they respond. They gather over 3,000 men, women, and children at the train station, and the army guns them all down. There's only one survivor who wakes up on a train piled high with corpses being taken to be dumped in the sea. But when he gets back to Macondo, this is what he's told. The government completely denies it. The official story is that nothing happened. This is what the government tells anyone who asks about their missing family members. Remember that magical insomnia plague? Well, this is the real-world version, a state-enforced plague of amnesia. The country's history is officially rewritten, a chilling commentary on how real-world atrocities are often just erased from the record. After the massacre and the official lie that covers it up, Macondo is spiritually broken. And this inner decay is mirrored by a physical one, in the form of a rainstorm so long and so massive that it feels absolutely biblical. I mean it. It rains for almost 5 years straight. The flood washes away what's left of the banana company, yeah, but it also just dissolves Macondo itself. The buildings crumble, the streets crack, and the whole town just seems to sink back into the swamp it came from. During this endless rain, the matriarch Ursula, who seemed like she would live forever, finally starts to fade. As she goes blind, her sense of time completely collapses. For her, all the dead Aurelianos and Jose Arcadios from generations past are walking through the house again. Her mind becomes the perfect symbol for the family's curse. They aren't moving forward, they're just stuck on a spinning wheel. So everything in this story, the repeating cycles, the solitude, the rain, it's all been leading to one final, incredible, apocalyptic moment. There's a prophecy that was written on some parchments 100 years ago, and it's finally about to be deciphered. And this quote is basically the thesis statement of the entire novel. The Buendia family history isn't a timeline, it's a machine stuck in a loop. But the machine is finally breaking down. The axle is worn out. That 100-year cycle is finally, mercifully, coming to an end. Think back to the very beginning. Remember the patriarch, Jose Arcadio Buendia? He got so lost in his own mind that he went completely mad and they had to tie him to a chestnut tree in the yard for the rest of his life. And the cycle ends just as it began. The very last Buendia finally figures out the prophecy, only to realize he's reading the story of his own family right up to that exact moment. He reads that the last of the line, his own son, born with a pig's tail, is at that very second being eaten by ants. And as he reads the final words, a hurricane wipes Macondo off the face of the earth. The end of the Buendias is the end of their 100 years of solitude. And the book leaves you with this enormous question, forcing you to look at your own history, your families, your countries. Are we just destined to repeat the same mistakes, trapped on that same turning wheel? Or can we actually learn from our memory and, unlike the Buendias, finally break the cycle?